Hello, good morning and welcome to today's RMIT talk, which is What's Next in Business, Industry Engagement. My name is Dr. Simon Thornton. I'm the Work Integrated Learning, WIL academic here at RMIT University for the College of Business and Law. Before we start today's session, I'd like to acknowledge the people of the Woomera and Boomerang language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the university business of the university. RMIT respectfully acknowledges their ancestors past, present and emerging, and while we conduct our work remotely, I also want to pay my respects to the wider unceded lands of our nation. As we do gather remotely in these or virtually in these challenging times, we find that our Willem or camp or meeting place is spread far wider and across many different homes. Despite this, we hope that you feel a sense of noogle or belonging in meeting with us today. Now, RMIT started life way back in 1887 as the Working Men's College. Back then, the Latin motto, per itiner manus mens exculta, meant a skilled hand and a cultivated mind. A lot has changed in those 133 years, but the motto still continues to be used today, and the ability to cultivate not only minds but also skills and knowledge to help our students become employed is still very important to us. But with that in mind, we aim that our students are exposed and prepared and equipped with the practical skills that they need to enter the workplace of the future. So how do we do this at RMIT? Well, it's through a range of different opportunities, business internships, putting into practice skills that they learned in the classroom. And today I'm going to chat with a number of members of our community to explain a little bit more about how we can do that. Our panelists today are Kim Nguyen, Project Officer of the Work Integrated Learning Team here at RMIT. Good morning, Kim.
Hi, Simon.
Morning. Lana Burley, who is Early Careers Lead and Talent Acquisition for Advisor at BP. Good morning, Lana.
Morning.
Morning. And finally, but importantly, we've got Alice Mason, who is a current RMIT student studying a Bachelor of Business in Marketing. Good morning, Alice.
Morning, everyone.
Okay. If I can kick off with you, Kim, just briefly. Before I start this, people as well. If you'd like to ask us some questions, please pop them in the chat. We've got some great colleagues behind the scene that are monitoring this chat. We're going to have a little conversation first, just to explain a little bit more about what we mean by industry engagement. But then we'll try and get to as many questions that you ask us that we can. Kim, if I come to you first, just so people out there can understand what we're talking about, can you give us a brief overview of what we mean by industry engagement?
Yeah, sure, Simon. That's a good question. So we like to connect our students to industry through industry placements. So I'm part of the Work Integrated Learning Team, and basically what we do is help support and provide students with industry placements. So we've got a few different placement offerings. I'd say our most popular placement offering is the Business Internship Selective. So this is where students can do an elective, get some work experience and have that credited towards your degree. We've also got our co-op program for our 4-year applied students. So for our applied students in your 3rd year of study, you'll go out and do a 1-year placement. And some other great online platforms that we have are RMIT Students on Demand, Volley and the RMIT Activator program. And they're basically platforms that connect employers to students, and we have students work on real problems and find solutions for those problems within real businesses.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kim. I'm sure we'll come back to some of those, if you like, solutions a bit later. Lana, if I come to you next, please. BP is a large company. How do you currently work with our students here at RMIT?
Yeah, so BP is a really big organisation, but I think locally we've got a really good relationship with RMIT. So we stay really engaged with the Will Centre in promoting our early career programs to students directly, and we look for engagement opportunities as well. And so our co-op program is one of the many really great programs that BP has that we engage RMIT students in as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Again, I'm sure we'll come back to a lot of that. Alice, as I mentioned, you're a current student, and there'll be lots of students out there watching this today. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you studying at RMIT? What have you done? How have you been able to interact with industry?
Yeah, for sure, Simon. So as Kim briefly touched on before, there's many opportunities that us students at RMIT are given to actually be put into the workplace and to actually see workplace practices. So I've been lucky enough to complete both the co-op program in my third year of study, which was last year. So that was a great opportunity for me because it was a full 12-month paid full-time placement, which was, something I hadn't done before. Obviously, working full-time, you don't have that opportunity generally when you're studying full-time as well. So that was great to be able to be put into a business, where I'm actually trusted and recognised for the skills and capabilities I'm bringing to them. So that was a great experience. And then first semester this year, as Kim also touched on, they have the internship elective, which I completed at the start of this year, which was also great to again be put straight into the middle of the business. They really rely on you, and I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Brilliant, thank you. Now, you mentioned in that answer, you mentioned about being put into a business, and that's obviously common language that we've used for a number of years. However, this year, as we all know, has been quite different. So I think you've worked on these kind of courses or delivered these kind of courses in two different ways, one before COVID and one after. How's that difference been? How have you managed to transition into a more sort of virtual online way of studying and working?
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, my full-time placement last year was obviously, this before COVID had hit, so everything was work as usual. So during that experience, whilst I was physically at the workplace, the support that I had from RMIT in the back end was amazing. I had a mentor who would actually communicate with me throughout the throughout the year. She would actually come out to check on me and to actually see the workplace where I was, and to just make sure everything was going all great, which I found really good to experience because, like I mentioned, it is something new going into a workplace full time. You can sometimes feel a little bit lost if you don't have that connection to RMIT whilst I was still studying. So it was great to have that support from RMIT in the back end. And then this year during the internship, I think I had 2 weeks there at the actual company, which was great to actually meet everybody and those initial meetings. But then it went to the virtual learning, which was still great. That the company I was with, they were still happy to sort of take time out of their days to teach me through processes and procedures, and it was really great to have them have the ability to work with them virtually.
Excellent. I mean, that's good to hear that for you it was still a great experience, even though it had to be moved for obvious reasons online. Kim, if I come back, thank you. Kim, if I come back to you now, we've used a lot of words like applied and co-op and business internship. Can you just explain for people what the difference is between these and what the different lengths are and what options, if you like, our students have?
Yeah, sure, Simon. So they are quite different. So I'll take you through the co-op program first. So as Alice and I mentioned before, so the co-op program is for our 4-year applied students. As an applied student in your 3rd year of study, you're required to do a 1-year placement. So the placement that you do find needs to be 1 year in length, it needs to be paid, related to your field of study, and also I've forgotten something. I think that's the main points. But so
I might just add in there, Kim.
Yeah.
So I might just add in there as well, from a student perspective. So whilst it can be quite daunting to go out and find your own placement, the resources that RMIT actually provide, so we have an online career hub where all of our partners and networks post those job positions. So whilst it can be daunting trying to find your own work, RMIT really help out on that end.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you mentioned that, Alice. And yeah, don't forget that our team's there to support you as well while you're looking for your placement. So while you're in that 3rd year, you're out full time, you're not at uni at all. And once you finish your placement, it's really great to have that 1 year of experience under your belt. And later on, when you start looking for those graduate jobs, it just makes you look like such a strong candidate. And our other offering is the business internship elective. So as I mentioned before, this is probably one of our most popular offerings. So here, students, if you have the free elective, you can enrol to do a business internship. We have 3 different types of internships at the moment. So you can do 120 hours of work experience, and that will count as 1 elective. You can do 240 hours for 2 electives, or 480 hours for 4 electives. And that internship elective is the shorter, more flexible option. So it's a really good way to get some good work experience, learn some transferable skills, and again, be able to work in your field of study. And the great thing is it's flexible. So as long as you've got that free elective, you can do it at any point in your degree, in whichever semester suits you best. And it is open to both our domestic and our international students as well, which is really good.
Brilliant, thanks, Kim. I think that flexibility is really important, especially in these difficult times. Moving forward, it's hard right now to plan things. So the fact we've got different things at different lengths is great.
Yeah.
Lana, if I can come back to you, please. There's a wonderful part of your job title which is called talent acquisition advisor, which I love the sound of that. Tell us if you can. I appreciate it. It's probably quite a lot. But what are you looking for in students? What are you looking for in the next kind of employees for BP?
Yeah, there's a huge breadth of what we look for. So I'll cover off a few things, but I might deep dive into a couple of those. So we look for, as a standard in any role across BP, alignment to our values and behaviours as an organisation. We also look for leadership and self-awareness as well. Specific to our early career programs, though, we look for a certain degree of kind of potential. And what I mean by potential is an individual's ability to learn quickly, to adapt, to build relationships, and to continue growing and developing, and have that capability to do so. A lot of our early career programs feed into kind of future leader programs. So that's what we want to see in those individuals, that ability to continue growing and that kind of desire to want that as well from that individual. Beyond that, we look for kind of 3 more new things in our student applicants. That's digital fluency. And what I mean by that is someone's ability to acknowledge the benefits that a digital tool or technology could offer to a process and how that might simplify or make something more efficient. We look for a real kind of customer-centric mindset as well. So the ability to see what work would really add value to our customer, either external or internal. And we also look for commercial kind of awareness. So we're not expecting obviously students to have really strong technical financial knowledge, but just that ability to see what options may be more commercially viable than others for a business.
Wow. Okay, that's really fascinating. So, in addition, obviously, digital fluency, is an absolute must now. And I think this year has shown that. But it's interesting. You're sort of saying that on top of anything like academic performance and those kind of things that you will still look at, you're looking for this kind of customer focus and a kind of commercial awareness that young people need to show. Which I suppose again elevates and sort of provides that wonderful opportunity for students to be able to gain this experience and be able to show that to companies like yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. And on the academic results, this year we actually ran our co-op intake for 2021, and we didn't actually request, other than a pass, a specific grade average. And the reason that we did that is we actually have our own testing in-house. So we just think that, university can be a really testing time for a lot of students, especially with disruptions of COVID. Grades aren't always the best kind of indicator of someone's performance across that period of time. So grades are not everything, I would say. And a question I get asked a lot is what's more important, kind of grades or experience? And I would always say experience.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So with that in mind, then back to you, Alice. Sort of you've heard a little bit there from Lana about what they're looking for. Sort of you've gone through this. What for you have been the benefits? Have you been able to acquire those kind of skills that Lana's looking for?
Yeah, definitely. So, Simon, in particular, in regards to, I know everyone on this call won't be interested in marketing, but for myself, for marketing, so, you have 2 aspects. You have an in-house side to things and sort of a digital agency take on marketing. So for me, with the 2 different experiences that I went through, I made sure to have, sort of see a bit of each side. So my co-op year was the in-house and the internship was the agency work. So that really helped me to see both sides and, like Lana said, to really develop all of those skill sets that I think are essential to any sort of young employee going into the workforce. You know, you've got people coming from all backgrounds, so you have to make sure that you can differentiate yourself, which with these experiences is so great for, because I have no doubt that, you know, I have grown both my personal and professional skill sets through these experiences. I definitely feel like my ability to communicate, manage and strategize, also, you know, my sound knowledge now of the digital space, like Lana mentioned, just being in the working experience and working environment, you learn so much more by doing, compared, you know, so what we learn in the classroom and what we learn from our RMIT tutors and lecturers is fantastic, but having the experience by going into the workforce, you actually really develop those theories that have been learned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm an academic and I love teaching people, but there are things that we can't teach, and so, you know, the what you learn in that work placement is vital. Kim, Alice mentioned there about, obviously it's wider than just marketing. Are you able to elaborate a little bit on the types of subject that we cover in the College of Business, so that people looking at this, obviously, and watching this, understand that it's not just single subjects that we can cater for?
Yeah, that's right. So our team, we oversee a lot of different schools. So as Alice said, marketing is one, economics and finance is another, international business, accounting, logistics and supply chain management, and also we look after, there's one more I've forgotten. That's all right, but yeah, we do, there's a lot of different schools that we assist.
Okay, great, thank you. And Lana, are you looking and taking, if you like, students from a range of different disciplines at BP? Again, you know, large company, is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So each of our early career programs have different streams or different technical disciplines that we look for. In a normal year, what we would look for in our co-op program specifically would be probably supply chain or logistics and supply chain, procurement, finance or accounting, marketing, and potentially HR as well. Because of a few business changes and because of the disruption of COVID, next year's intake will only feature finance, accounting, and marketing. But typically, we do look for that real breadth across the business school from RMIT.
Okay. And Alice, you know, obviously you've explained some great benefits there. How has it helped you develop your employability? You know, where are you now in your journey?
Yeah, so Simon, that's a good point to bring up, because I think some people should also be aware that, you know, these co-op programs are actually such a great opportunity to then continue working, you know, down the track and for years further on. Like, I'm sure Alana, they have the opportunity there for their co-op students to continue working with BP after their co-op year. Yeah, so I did have that opportunity. However, like I mentioned before, I wanted to sort of test the waters a bit more in terms of seeing what else was out there. So that was why I didn't continue working with my co-op placement. But I found that I'm now currently working as a marketing graduate. So I was able to secure a position with quite a well-known tech company based in Melbourne. And they basically said to me straight out, you know, the reason why your application does look so interesting is because of all this experience that you've had. And it's the fact that you're able to bring knowledge from different areas and you've already put it into practice. You know, you've had a year and a half working experience compared to some other applicants that we received. So I'm fairly confident that the experiences that I have had resulted in me being able to now secure this marketing grad position, which I'm really excited about. So I've been working there since March, part-time. So they've been very accommodating. So I've been able to continue my final year of study, and then I'll go to full-time work there next year.
Brilliant.
Can I just add to that as well?
Sure, Kim.
So with the co-op students that I've worked with in the past, often we do see that co-op secure a role, and they do such a good job in that year that companies roll them on straight to the graduate program. So it's a really good opportunity and just great transition phase as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of examples of that at BP. I know a number of our co-ops from previous intakes are still in the business, if it's a part-time or a fixed term or a full-time capacity. And we definitely look to encourage them to apply for our grad program as well. So absolutely.
Great. Okay. And Kim, we've talked a little bit about support, or a few of us have talked about support. Can you just elaborate? It's your team that helps students through these placements. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the kind of help and support we give students before and during their placements?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the time students start looking for a placement and they think they're alone, but students, you are not alone. Our team is there to help support you. So essentially there's two halves of our team. So there's the business relationships team. So their role is to go out to industry, go out to employers and look for those opportunities for our students to apply. So that's their full-time job, to look for roles for our students. And then we've got the student team, which I'm a part of. And we help to support and guide you. We'll answer any questions that you have about placements or about the recruitment process. While you're on placement, if you have any questions, we can assist as well. And for our co-op students, we do, when it comes time to start looking for your placement, our team will reach out and help you to start preparing. So we run different employability workshops. We'll help to check your resume, check your cover letter, we'll do mock interviews with you. And like Alice mentioned before, there's a couple of other services at RMIT that students can leverage from as well. So there's Career Hub, which is essentially RMIT's job site. So any roles our team source go straight onto Career Hub. And there's also the job shop. So similarly, they run different employability workshops quite frequently throughout the year. So they're quite a valuable resource as well.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Kim. We've had some great questions coming through from our audience. So I'm going to jump to a few of those questions now. Thank you for those people out listening. Question first for Lana. What's your assessment of the quality of RMIT students? There's a good question to start us off, isn't it?
It is. RMIT students are definitely really highly qualified candidates, I would say, in comparison to a lot of our other university students. I think a lot of our RMIT applicants probably come with a bit more well-rounded work experience, probably obviously through the opportunities that they have to do that within their studies that other universities might be a bit more fixed on. So they obviously typically have a bit more experience coming into it, and that kind of shows through in their ability to apply their knowledge in a more meaningful way in the projects that they get given, and also how quickly they kind of get into the business and can pick up the role as well.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of said earlier that the academic side is important, but you're really looking for that kind of commercialized personality, aren't you? And that ability to go to work. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And that's something you get through that kind of, experience and practical experience that you gain throughout your studies.
Yeah, great. Kim, there's a couple of questions. You've kind of touched on some of the points a little earlier, but there's one. The first question is, and I'll combine these two questions if I may. The first question is about other placements for the applied degrees. Are they guaranteed? And also other placements paid or unpaid? Maybe you can just elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, sure. So for the applied program, the placements aren't guaranteed. So it is the student's responsibility to secure a placement. But in saying that, our team is there to assist you, and we do provide a lot of support. But it is up to the student to be quite motivated and engage with our team as well. And again, I think if you're thinking of doing an applied degree or an internship, it's good to start thinking about what you can do now to, strengthen your CV and make you a bit of a stronger candidate. And in terms of the paid or unpaid placements, so the co-op placement for the applied students, that must be a paid full-time role. And if you're thinking of doing a business internship elective, the role can be paid or unpaid, so long as it's related to your field of study.
All right, brilliant. And Alice, you mentioned obviously there's a question for you here about where your applied placement was. So maybe you can answer that one quickly. But also, how did you find, in landing that role? How was it for you? How were you able to land that role?
Yeah, sure. So my co-op placement was with a company called Capital Transport. So they are obviously within the transport and logistics industry. However, my role there was within the marketing and sales team. So that was a great opportunity to learn more about an industry that I, really didn't know much about. And to source that position, like Kim said, you know, RMIT are really great with helping you prepare for interviews. They helped me to prepare my CV and cover letter. So they held sort of, you know, preparation sessions where you could go, like Kim said, though it is a lot, you do have to motivate yourself and you do have to, you know, you do have to do the work to get a position. So I would have to spend the time really working hard on my CV and making sure that I had a good application that would stand out.
Okay, brilliant. All right, thank you. And there's a question here that's come through actually with my name on it, and it sort of says, you know, sort of have these work experience and placements resulted in employment? I know the statistics, you know, so obviously do prove that, albeit they're prior to 2020 with all the fun and games we've had in 2020. About 40% of students that go on and do large placements do gain employment. Lana, can you elaborate on that? You mentioned obviously what you're looking for. You know, do lots of students go on and end up in employed jobs, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think regardless of whether or not you have had the opportunity to do a work experience year or a form of kind of placement during your study, I think there is really high employability of young people in really big organisations. So I definitely think there's high employability, and there's a lot of new roles that are coming out as well. I think we will see that probably not this year, but maybe towards the start of next year. I think there will be a lot of new opportunities that may not have existed previously. I definitely think, though, that if you can get that integrated work experience during your study, you are probably in a better position to have that existing relationship with that business, know their systems, know their processes, and potentially land a role with them kind of post your study completion as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I've got a question here, which I think is in your camp, Kim. I'm tossing up between Bachelor of Business Marketing and Bachelor of Business Marketing Applied. Are you able to provide any guidance on how I should go about the decision and what I should consider? What a great question.
Yeah. Thank you to whoever asked that question. That is a good question. I guess the main difference between just the regular marketing degree and the applied is that 1 year of full-time experience in your third year. I do think the applied degree, if you're considering it, is a great option because, you know, as I've mentioned before, you get 1 year experience in a role that's related to your studies. And I do think that really helps later on when you're starting to apply for those graduate jobs or any future role. And also, yeah, it just helps you to, you know, build out your CV, makes you look like a really strong candidate. And also it's a great opportunity to start building your network quite early on. So start meeting people in the field that you'd like to be working on in the future, because yeah, you never know who you'll come across later on or who might be able to give you a job later on. So it is important to start networking early as well.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, Kim, I might just add to that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, look, guys, that's great. We'll go Lana first, then we'll go Alice. That's all right. Lana, all yours.
I was just going to say that I think that any study option that kind of offers you that kind of ability to do a placement in its kind of existing structure is a bit more motivating probably as a student as well. I think as a student, when, you know, life's going on, there's social things going on, there's you know, pressure to do study, there's also kind of, you know, part-time casual work commitments that you need to maintain as well potentially. I think it's easy to get caught up and all of a sudden you know that, you know, 3-4 years have gone by and you haven't actually kind of stopped, paused and taken that moment to get that work experience in a more practical way. So I think a course that kind of offers that as a requirement is probably a bit more of a push as a student to get that as well.
Yeah. Alice?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly chip into that as well. So for any students who, if you don't necessarily get the grades or have the ATAR to get into the applied course, what you can actually do is, you know, start off in just a 3-year course and then you can transfer later on, which is what I personally did. You know, I knew that the co-op year was essential, so I just did what I had to do in first year to get the grades and get the GPA to be able to transfer across.
Brilliant. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. We've had a question here about obviously the 2020 and COVID-19, and we've touched a little bit on some of the, if you like, sort of virtual ways in which students are able to carry on, and you've done that, Alice. But Kim, could you explain a little bit more about how we're able to continue placements online and what provision we put in from the team and in that regard?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, at the moment we are in a bit of a very unique situation. So we have seen most of our placements move to being virtual and online, and employers have been really good in adjusting. So for co-op and business internships, it's still possible to do a placement if you wish. It just might look a little different to what you thought it would. Yeah, as I mentioned, we've moved to virtually online, and I might actually take this opportunity to highlight a program that our team, in particular yourself, Simon, and the RMIT Activator team have set up to accommodate our students whose placements have been impacted by COVID-19. So it's called the RMIT Activator Impact Academy, and it was set up for our students who were affected, and it's a 13-week intensive course where students get to work with 3 different employers on a project within their business. So we've run the program once now, and the second cohort's just started, and we've had some really good feedback from students, mainly around the exposure that they got to industry. You know, where else would you get to be able to work with 3 industry partners at one time? And the great thing about it is it's designed to simulate the type of work, the type of interactions, and also the workload that you'd experience in a full-time face-to-face placement. So yeah, RMIT are being very agile in still giving our students that internship opportunity.
Brilliant, thanks, Kim. More questions are coming in, which is fantastic. Keep them coming, people. This question could go to any of us, to be honest, and I'll throw it around. It's sort of, what are some of the companies that RMIT works with in terms of industry and experience? You know, sort of, there's a range of options. Alice, you've worked for a number of companies now. Sort of, is it really a case of sort of, you know, you can look at what's out there and pick and choose how you see?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I remember back to so my end of second year when I was applying for all the co-op positions, there were various industries. There was obviously transport that I ended up working in. There was law, engineering. You could really, and then, you know, pharmaceuticals, you know, BP, for example, Mercedes as well. So there were really a vast range of companies that put job positions out there for a co-op student. So I think for me personally, it was really about sifting through all of them and seeing what industries or what roles actually interested me, and then going from there and applying from there.
Yeah, and Kim, obviously you're involved in supporting students, so you know you're aware of the range of different adverts that get posted on things like Career Hub and opportunities that the students have.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, exactly as you said, Alice, students go into a range of industries. So we see them go into small businesses, to startups, to the larger corporations. Yeah, you name it. I would say if you are thinking of doing a placement and you've got a particular industry or company in mind, you know, start following them on LinkedIn, start following their social media. A lot of times they will promote opportunities through those platforms. So yeah, I'd start following them just so that you don't miss out.
And Lana, I appreciate you work for one employer in BP, but are you aware that you're a part of a larger community that's obviously, you know, looking with and engaging with students from places like RMIT and beyond?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is very much kind of that awareness from BP that we're kind of one of many, and we know that the students have a lot of different options available to them. Obviously, I think it's great because every student's going to align to a different business based on their own personal interests, career aspirations, etc. So it's really important to have that breadth of option.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. There's still more questions coming in, which is great. We'll do a few quick ones if we can. Kim, this one's for you. Can I do a placement interstate? Question mark.
Yep, good question. Yes, you can do a placement interstate. So in the past, we saw students physically move there and do their placement, but in the situation that we're in now, that will most likely look like a virtual opportunity. But yes, you can do your placement interstate.
Yeah, I mean, interstate, international, there are no restrictions other than the ones that we're currently in that are preventing that physical travel. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to mention as well, with the international option, there is a, I think it's a Volley, where you can connect to non-for-profit organisations and do some work experience and internships. And because it's virtual, you can do that anywhere in the world. So great global exposure there.
Okay. Alice, I wonder if you could. We've got about 10 minutes left now. I wonder if what advice would you give the young people out there today watching this live event? You know, sort of you've already been and done it to an extent, although you're not quite finished your degree. What advice can you give them? What would you say?
I think that one of the most important things, Simon, is even if you don't have the elective space to complete one of the RMIT internship positions within your first 2 years, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but I don't think you do. I'm not quite sure 100% on that. So even if you don't have the elective space, I would encourage you to actually go out on your own and to try and find, even if it's unpaid, an opportunity to work within a company, and just, you know, even if it is just sort of the real grunt work, just understanding what it's like to be in a workplace environment that is different to, you know, your casual sort of retail cafe work, because obviously there is quite a difference between that sort of casual part-time work that we do growing up compared to working in an office. So I think, you know, if you can start getting that experience from the get-go, I think it'll put you in a really great position moving forward to be able to nail down some really good experiences.
Brilliant, thank you. I've got a question here that I've just seen dropped in, which is great. Keep them coming, guys. What can I do as a Year 12 student to improve my CV and resume and help me get work placement in the future? I think that's probably Lana, and maybe Alice can answer that one best, I think. Lana first.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably as a Year 12 student, first and foremost, focus on your studies. That's a really important year. Don't be too, don't put too much pressure on yourself to do everything. But if you do have involvement in kind of, those extracurricular activities that you use as, a break from study, you might maybe be in a leadership position, maybe at school or within those extracurricular activities as well. So just focus on that kind of more volunteer extracurricular and school involvement kind of opportunities. Focus on your studies, and then, summer will come around and you'll be able to focus on gaining more practical work experience then.
Brilliant, thanks. Alice, can you add to that, or I'll give it your take?
Well, similar to Lana, firstly, just to all Year 12 students, I feel for you right now. I couldn't imagine doing Year 12 VC in the conditions that you are. So good job to everyone and keep going. But basically, I think, what you can do is, like Lana mentioned, just ensure that any extracurricular you're doing, no matter how small it can be, it can always just add to your resume, and it can always help to make you stand out. So I just really tried to, any leadership position I was in, any sort of customer-facing role that I did as well, I think was important to note, because in any workplace, it's, good to note that you have that the ability to communicate effectively. I also found that any volunteer work that I did was a really interesting key to put on the CV. And my prospective employers, I think, look to that to see your interests and to see who you are as a person, not professionally, but personally.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Lana. Sorry.
No, I'm just going to quickly add as well. I think now, given that there are a lot of physical restrictions on what we can and cannot do, equally you could use this time to kind of have a chat to people that you already know, that are family, friends, people that you've met through your friends' parents as well, and get to know their career and establish a real kind of sense of purpose and clear pathway of what you want to achieve and what you want to study and why. So that could be a really good use of your time as well.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lana. I was also going to say, look, we fully appreciate it's a really difficult time for you to acquire some of these important skills now, and nobody's going to hold that against you, but we will get through this, and when we do, then obviously that's when you can start that journey again. There was a great question popped in the chat just now, and it was about whether or not you do placements in Year 3 or Year 4 or whatever, and I think that's a really, if you like, astute question, because I think traditionally the viewpoint has been that you do an internship before you leave, and that leads directly to a job, and that's great, and we know the stats produce that. But and there is that balance between whether or not you study first and then apply it or whatever. Lana, as a talent acquirer, where do you stand on that? Is it too early to do an internship in your opinion? Is there too early a point?
Well, in terms of early career programs, we do look for people that have passed kind of at least their second year, so then their penultimate year of study at a bare minimum, whatever duration their course is. But in saying that, there's obviously other kind of smaller opportunities that you can look for work experience prior to that, as Alice talked about earlier.
Right, yeah. And Alice, would you say start as early as you can? Where do you sit on that?
I think, it really depends sort of where your current skill set is at. So like I mentioned earlier, I think the ability to communicate is essential going into any workplace. So, if you're in a current position, workplace position where you're doing that, then just make sure you're taking that sort of to the fullest and really taking advantage of that. And if you're not, then yeah, I definitely think try and get out there and improve on those core skills and improve on those fundamental skills before you then go on to develop the sort of key workplace skills.
Brilliant, thank you. Kim, can you add to that at all? Or?
Yeah, sure. I agree. I think it is important to have some transferable skills and some core skills before you do a placement. I will just add, just in terms of work experience, a lot of the time I speak to students and they'll discount the casual work they're doing. So if they're in retail or working in a restaurant and they think, oh, that's not applicable to what I'm doing later, I'm not going to put that on my resume when I'm applying for an internship role. But those kind of roles are great. Like, they're the roles that help you build those skills and will land you that job interview and hopefully that internship. So yeah, even start thinking about any casual, part-time or volunteer work you can do.
Couldn't agree
Brilliant.
more.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Look, we're very close to time, guys. I want to is there any final thoughts that any of you would like to add? I mean, obviously it's been a great discussion. It's brilliant to hear from all your different perspectives. Any final thoughts, Lana, before we finish?
Probably just, take it easy on yourselves. It's a really challenging time at the moment, so don't put too much pressure on yourself in terms of feeling that need to get that work experience within the current constraints. If you can, that's fantastic, but likewise, be easy on yourself and the opportunities will come when they can. The second thing that I would say is really just make sure that you have a real sense of kind of purpose and a why and a reason that you're pursuing what you are pursuing when you do go for those roles, because that motivation in itself will really stand out.
Brilliant. Alice?
Yeah, for sure. I'd probably just also like to say, to all students coming into RMIT, and if you are going to be doing these co-op placements and these internship placements, whilst it can be quite scary and quite daunting, having to source them yourself, I'd just like to reiterate the support that you get from RMIT is amazing, and they're there to help you every step of the way. So you're not just left by yourself to try and work through it. You really do have RMIT to help you through the progress, and I think it's definitely worth it if you can to do as many work placement opportunities as you can.
Brilliant, thanks. Kim, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess my best advice in this time would be try and adapt to change the best that you can. Try and find the positives and do whatever it takes to bring the best version of yourself to work and studies, and that will help you in the future.
Brilliant. Okay. All right. Well, we're almost out of time. So I'd like to personally thank Lana Burley, Alice Mason, and Kim Nguyen for joining us today and giving us your opinion and your experiences, most importantly. And also thank you very much to all the people out there that have tuned in and listened today and sent us questions. Apologies if we didn't get to all the questions or your question didn't get fully covered. We do have a team of people behind the scenes that will work on those and either pass them to us, and we'll get them straight back to you. And just before we finish, obviously, we've said it a few times, but please stay safe in these challenging times. We do appreciate it. It's sort of a really difficult time to be a young person finishing school and looking to join university right now, but we will get through it. And obviously, we hope to see you at RMIT very soon. So thank you very much for joining us. That's great.